What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. Pac-12 After Dark is back. The Pac-12 has expanded, as adding Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, and San Diego State. So today we're going to be taking a look at some expansion candidates. I've ranked about 10 of them. We're going to look at these and discuss the potential candidates they could be looking into, because the Pac-12 has to add a couple more teams at least to reach official conference status. But let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? First off, with some honorable mentions here. Starting off with these 6 honorable mentions right here. Starting at the bottom, Montana and Montana State. So if they decide to go, the FCS route, that is a viable option. There are some teams in the FCS we'll talk about here in a little bit that I could see entering the Pac-12. But if they do that, let's say they decide to add 4 Pac-12 teams, Montana and Montana State could be included in that package. They kind of fit, the geography area, and also they've had some success in the past. San Jose State is another one. I don't think this will probably happen, but San Jose State at least fits geographically as well, in that region. Utah State, kind of a similar scenario. They haven't just had a total ton of success. They are pretty good at basketball sometimes, but they also fit apparently the state criteria, because every team so far that is in the Pac-12 has state included in their name. Then the top 3, Rice, Texas State, North Texas, and honorable mentions. If they decide to, branch out all the way to Texas, because as we've seen now with conferences, geography really doesn't matter. Okay. So even if you're a West Coast based conference, you can still branch out and, almost go across the whole United States. So Rice, Texas State, North Texas, if they decide to dip into Texas, those would definitely bring in some revenue. As for North Texas in particular, that's kind of a branch they could hit. They kind of is like in that SMU and TCU, little blueprint in the Metroplex. So that wouldn't be a bad team to add probably as well. So diving in the top 10 here, we'll start number 10, USF. So this is, if they do decide to branch out that way, let's say they decide to take some teams from the American, for example, USF will definitely bring in a lot of revenue from Florida. They are successful in football at the moment. They have a pretty good football team going, but you could branch into Florida, get some recruits out of there, and get some money going as well. If they branch into USF, like bringing in that, I would probably expect them to dip into Texas as well. Number 9, Wyoming. Okay, so this is another team that just fits geographically with what they have at the moment on that West Coast, and you could do worse. Wyoming is, they're an FBS school at least. I don't know how much revenue necessarily they're going to bring you, but Wyoming is a team you could look into. Number 8, New Mexico. So this is a team that has had success mainly in basketball as of late, but they could help you out there. And then if you decide to go the basketball route, even you could see like Gonzaga and St. Mary's maybe jumping in basketball only. I would not be shocked if that happens. If they decide to bring in New Mexico, you could see kind of those teams joining them. All right, number 7, we have North Dakota State and South Dakota State, similar to Montana State, what I was talking about earlier. Basically, these two teams usually run the FCS. One of them is going to be probably in the championship every year almost, and you could definitely do worse. Now, is it too big of a jump for them to go from the FCS Division II to going to not exactly a power school conference anymore, but a borderline, best G5 conference type of? I would see them more likely to go to the Mountain West before they make that jump to the Pac-12. But if they decide to go this route, you could see them tied in with Montana, like I was talking about earlier. Number 6, Cal Stanford. Okay, so the ACC is kind of in ruins right now. There's some rumors that it could be done as well. So could they look to go back to the Pac-12? That they are probably the best schools you could get on this list, but I don't see them backtracking and going back after leaving. So that's kind of why I didn't include them higher here, because I don't see them backtracking that fast after just leaving for the ACC last year. Number 5, Air Force. So they actually fit geographically as well, being in Colorado, but also they have had success in football. They are going to generate you some revenue always, and you could definitely do worse than Air Force when it comes to adding a team to your conference. Number 4, UTSA. So these top 4 I've seen thrown around a lot more than everybody else. UTSA, if they decide to dip into Texas, you get that San Antonio blueprint, which is kind of an untapped gem right now as far as power conferences are concerned. You've got Houston covered in the Big 12. You've got, Austin covered. You've got Dallas covered. So San Antonio would kind of be the next big branch in Texas that is not currently tapped into in the power conference level. So that would be why UTSA could be interesting if you decide to dip into the American. Number 3, UNLV. They do fit geographically. Also, they're going to revenue you a ton of money as far as just being in Las Vegas. They're a good basketball team. They're a pretty good football team right now. There are some issues I've seen that act like UNLV may have some issues as far as getting in when it comes to like politics stuff. So we'll see if that ends up hindering them getting in. But UNLV, I think, is a pretty good fit in the Pac-12 and probably will be added. Number 2, Tulane. They've had a lot of success in football as of late. Saw them play with Kansas State and Oklahoma these past couple weeks, but under Willie Fritz these past few years, they've had a lot of success as almost the best G5 school in football. Now they've lost their head coach. John Summeralls came in from Troy, but they're still having success this year. So Tulane, definitely one you get into, getting that New Orleans, Louisiana area. And then number 1, Memphis. Now, if you decide to add Memphis and Tulane, I would think you add UTSA as well, and maybe somebody along the way, whether it's UNLV, whether it's another Texas school, whether it's New Mexico, who knows. But Memphis is kind of the number 1 team I think left out of that's not currently in the power conferences that is probably next up. I would say them and USF in particular are probably the biggest revenue generators. Memphis is good in football. They're good in basketball, and they're going to generate you a lot of money. Now, being in Memphis, Tennessee is kind of, besides Tennessee, there's not just too many teams there that you kind of get in that SEC recruiting ground. So I think Memphis would probably be the number 1 option, and probably is the number 1 option for anybody if they're looking to dip into the G5 ranks and pull somebody. So, if you bring in Memphis and Tulane, then you get UTSA and USF, for example. I think that's a solid 4. It's going to kind of branch you out to that SEC Big 12 recruiting grounds that should help you all around. But who did I miss? Who would you add to the Pac-12 if you were the commissioner? Who are you looking to expand with? Let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.